The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number 1 seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage Late
This sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome to hour number 3, live right here on the early line on this Thursday, all across the Spiz Grizz network. That is Sports Grid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. Our third and final hour on this Thursday with still so much to get into. Stanley Cup postseason on this Thursday. Our guy Pete Jensen will join later in this third hour to break down everything you need to know from last night's doubleheader. And as tonight we change venue for the first time in the series between the Rangers and the Canes, to Carolina we go, and it's game number 2 in Dallas. That's a doubleheader in the NHL, a doubleheader as well in NBA playoff action. Some best bets come your way later in this hour, and a short 7-game slate in Major League Baseball. But Donnie will give you the XFIP numbers you need to know on this Thursday as well.
Yes, everybody loves XFIP around here. It's the way to do it. Ben loves war, love XFIP. Look, we actually cover these games in a good approach to put some more money in your pocket. But also keep in mind, Ben, we're about a week out here, so we're going to talk an NFL topic right now to the schedule release. One of my favorite days in sports where the NFL screws the Philadelphia Eagles and always lets the Dallas Cowboys have one of the easier schedules in the NFL. Just the way it is. We're used to that here in Philadelphia. Just wanted to get that off my chest.
So it is interesting to note because, to Donnie's point, we do know the opponents that every team will play, all 17, but where exactly they fall in the schedule, on what day of the week, will it be in a game where it's away, home versus home, whatever that might be, we will figure out in the coming days. The NFL announced earlier this week the actual schedule release date will be on Wednesday, May 15th. It makes sense. The upfront media presentations for all those big TV networks are next week in New York City. That's when they want to share the biggest live events in each and every week, each and every year. That's an NFL football game. We'll also get the determinations of who is playing in those marquee matchups through the holiday matchups on Sunday Night Football, who gets prime time. All of that goodness comes your way in the next 6 days. And although it's the schedule release date on Wednesday, May 15th, we'll start to get some of those spoilers and some of those announcements in the coming days as well. That includes who the 2-time reigning Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs are going to play in their season opener, the NFL debut. There's a certain amount of teams that Kansas City can play on that opening Thursday night of the year in Kansas City. We know KC is one. Who is the other? Here are the potential opponents for the 2-time defending champs: the Texans, Ravens, Bengals, Chargers, Broncos, Raiders, Saints, and the Buccaneers. That's 8 listed teams in total. So who do we think KC is going to play? That's what we wanted to hear from you. We do so now and Fade the Public. at SportsGrid on Twitter, who should the NFL schedule against the Chiefs on opening night? We listed 4, the Bengals, the Chargers, the Ravens, and or the Texans. And most of the public is saying the Texans at 39.5%, but that's not all that far in front of Baltimore at 36.9. Of course, the Ravens versus the Chiefs would be a rematch of last year's AFC Championship game.
Yeah, whatever game is going to be sensational. We're going to love it. It's opening night. We'll cheer it on and see what happens. But I always think the NFL is looking at what is next on deck. How many times have we seen the Ravens in big spots here? Seen them quite a bit. And yes, we would enjoy the Ravens taking on Kansas City on opening night. The Bengals with Joe Burrow. Yeah, we would enjoy that, but we've seen that quite a bit already in playoff action and regular season action between these two teams. I just look at one of those where we say opening night, man, put the Texans on display. Let's see what they got year number 2. Are they for real? Can they go into Kansas City right off the bat and pull off a victory like we saw last year with the Detroit Lions? Can they actually do it? And that's 39% of the vote here, which is number 1. So technically, I went with the public and didn't fade them because I would love to see opening night with the Texans and their new look here going up against the Super Bowl champions.
DRS, it's a great point. It was the litmus test that we discussed all summer long for the Detroit Lions, who entered last year booked as the favorites to win the NFC North, and Detroit prior to last season had failed to win a divisional title in 3 decades in the National Football League. And then the Lions passed that litmus test. They pulled off the upset in Arrowhead over Kansas City, courtesy of Kadarius Toney, who I don't believe is going to be a key factor in KC's offense this upcoming season. And Detroit passed every litmus test each and every week, reaching the NFC title game for the first time in 32 years, hosting a playoff game, winning a playoff game for the first time in that same span as well. The Houston Texans seem to be that optimistically viewed team this offseason, and rightfully so. A sensational rookie year in H-Town for both the quarterback C.J. Stroud and the head coach DeMeco Ryans. And Houston has made move after move this offseason that has been viewed in a very positive way. Of course, mainly the acquisition of Stephon Diggs from the Buffalo Bills. And Donnie, to that point, I think that's one of the great things about when we get the full schedule unveiled next week. Again, we know the opponents for all 32 teams around the National Football League for all 17 games. Where exactly they factor, that's a different conversation. And we have the odds, we have win totals out for every team in the NFL, make playoff prices to win a division, to win a conference, to win Super Bowl 59 and that Lombardi Trophy. So we do have the evaluation of how the odds makers expect this upcoming year to go. But one of the reasons I love when the schedule is fully released is you also get it even a step further. How the odds makers view this team versus insert X opponent each and every week, the weekly assessment of what that team is expected to do. And I love to see how those game spreads play out, and we'll start to get some of those odds out for week 1, week 2, and the marquee dates on the NFL calendar once the schedule is fully released in just 6 days.
Yeah, sometimes it's not who you play, but when you actually play them. Now, granted, you want to play some of these teams that are just learning how to win technically early in the season before they get going. And also, where do you have those divisional games? Are you lump sum there in September with your home games in the division, and then you go on the road late in the season? But more importantly, it's about that rest advantage. Some teams, through no fault of their own, are going to line up and go, hold on now. We got 6 teams this year that we play coming off their bye when we're not coming off our bye. Makes it a little bit unfair. And also, those road games. We always know how tough it is to win a road game. It's hard to win back-to-back road games, and sometimes you'll see teams play 3 in a row as an anomaly on the road, which is always tough here. Now, if the NFL, the schedule makers, and I always, with a little bit of a bit and complaint, the Philadelphia Eagles this year had the staggered schedule, which everybody's going to have with 17 games. You get the extra home game. Wouldn't you rather have the Green Bay Packers, you figure probably a playoff team, going up against the Eagles and play them in your own building?
Sure.
Well, for the greater good of the NFL, the Eagles are in Brazil as a home game, something they'd rather be home for. Hey, NFL, let's get this through your thick skulls here. When you take a look at Thanksgiving, you know what would be awesome? Keep Dallas on Thanksgiving Day, but have them play road games instead of being home. How about you put them in Brazil here? And how about you make them play on a short week, which never happened since the institution of the buys here? It's just the way things break out, but I understand. The NFL is all about money. And if their owners can make more money, they're even willing to sacrifice their own teams in these instances by sending them on the road. Hey, no big deal. Yeah, we'll go down there in Brazil and play a game when Jeffrey Lloyd knows damn well he'd rather be at Lincoln Financial Field as a heavy favorite to the Packers as opposed to questionable game. What are these conditions? Both teams flying to Brazil, first time ever. I just wish the NFL just kept things a little bit more tight and kept it here on the homeland on these big games. That's all.
It's a really good point, too, DRS, and again, speaks to my point about how the odds view teams versus teams in these matchups. Both the Packers and the Eagles expected to be playoff teams in the NFC this year, but because of the neutral site environment in Sao Paulo on the opening Friday of the year, Philly only booked as a 1.5 favorite and just 18 cents of difference in that money line. Speaking of odds, our mock odds makers in the lab, and they agree with the public that the Texans are the most likely opponent for the Chiefs on game number 1. 2-1 that number for Houston. The Bengals at plus 250. Joe Burrow, as we discussed, back throwing on the practice field this week in Cincy. I would like to see the rematch of the Ravens and the Chiefs from the AFC title game. And could we see a divisional opener with all of the notoriety that Jim Harbaugh will bring to Los Angeles outside of the Packers versus the Bears for the NFL's 100th season in 2019? Last divisional opener was 2012. Major League Baseball conversations next.
The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number 1 seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here on this Thursday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. It is the Daily Bases with our guy, Craig Mish, MLB insider here on the SportsGrid network, of course, the host of Newswire starting at 11 a.m. Eastern time. Craig, only a 7-game slate today in Major League Baseball, a shorter slate, but we'll preview a ton of the marquee matchups with you, so we're glad to have you here on the early line.
Yeah, afternoon baseball games, really good matchups, I think, too, especially the one we'll break down, Seattle and Minnesota, 2 really good pitchers there.
And the one out in Staten Island, as we shared yesterday, a.k.a. the Bronx, that's the New York Yankees taking on the Houston Astros. The Yankees, a minus 138 home money line favorite to pull off this midweek series sweep over the Stros. Of course, they swept Houston in Houston to start off this Major League Baseball season in a 4-game set. So, Craig, I want to ask you the question from this perspective. What is the bigger story in your mind? The Yankees looking to pull off the sweep and get their AL best 26th win of the year, or the Astros potentially falling to 13 games below 500 if they are not victorious tonight in the Bronx?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that the Yankees have overachieved, and maybe for some that's not the case. But generally speaking, you're always going to think the Yankees are good. The odds makers are always going to make them favorites to win divisions, win pennants, and win World Series or close to it. But I don't think that is the big story here, although they've performed probably 6-7 games above where they're supposed to be right now. The story is definitely the fact that we have to wonder at this point as we're closing in on Memorial Day whether or not the Astros simply their reign is over in the American League. Now, again, it's still too early to say that because a 7-8 game winning streak puts them right back in. As I've said before, all that team needs to do is get to the postseason, and then historically they'll have Framber Valdez and Verlander, and the kid who's pitching today, Blanco's been really good too. But we're getting close to that time where you sort of have to wonder. And as we talked about previously on the show, I mean, Jose Altuve is doing his job, but there are a lot of others who are not. I mean, Abreu's in the minor leagues. My guy, Alex Bregman, he's a free agent at the end of the season. I thought he'd be an MVP candidate because that's, the kind of makeup that this guy has, A+, but it hasn't worked out for him. Pena hasn't been as good as he was a couple of years ago. And just simply put, the juice is kind of gone, it looks like, for them. I mean, is it fair to say Dusty Baker meant that much to this team? I don't know. But right now, there's no other finger to point at this point.
We see some of those odds, Craig, that pop up, including the AL pennant. They were plus 360 prices on opening day as the best team, or should I say the best odds in the American League to win the pennant. Now they're dropping down to 7-1. My thought process behind this is, what are the Astros going to do, Craig? Because it's not an organization that's probably going to panic, but when is that time where you say to yourself, like, do we make a move to shake this up, or do we just ride it out and say, these guys have done it before, eventually they're going to get it together, as opposed to making a big move?
I would say, Donnie, they'll probably ride this right to the trade deadline. That would be my guess. I don't think that they'll do anything before that, whether it's getting better or getting worse. I think a team that's in a similar spot right now is probably the Toronto Blue Jays, where they're a team that's window is sort of open right now. I think they'll wait right till the deadline to say, hey, do we go for this thing or we decide to go the other way? They have a lot of really good players on that team, too, that are underperforming. So I put those teams sort of in the same category. I do have to say, on Houston's behalf, if this is it, what an incredible run for a decade almost here of them playing outstanding baseball, getting to the ALCS, getting to the World Series. That's not to say that any team deserves a mulligan, but if there was one in baseball, I think the Houston Astros would be it if indeed their race to the postseason ends in a couple of months.
Yeah, of course, with so much notoriety, with the cheating scandal and all that happened in Houston, to still perform after that and reach 7 consecutive American League Championship Series up to this point, it is impressive baseball in H-Town. And still could get back there. Listen, very long season, still plus 148 to reach the American League playoffs. Craig, let's go around the rest of the slate on this Thursday in MLB. Some day baseball, as you mentioned, up in Minneapolis. The Twins and the Mariners, the rubber match of this 3-game set. Seattle won game 1. Minnesota responds last night in game number 2. The Twins a slight favorite with Pablo Lopez on the bump today, minus 122. Who wins this rubber match and this week's series?
Yeah, look at that total, by the way, for a day in May. I mean, you don't generally see that almost ever until the end of the season. And by the way, good pitchers today, but not household names by any means. And Gilbert and Pablo, Gilbert's been the better pitcher of the two this season for Seattle. But I do think that the Twins being at home and, having a lot of experience winning a lot of games recently, I think I would favor them ever so slightly. I see the line has ticked up a little bit from 125 to 130. Pablo's ERA this season is above 4. I would say he's probably been a little bit unlucky. Seattle does tend to strike out a lot. So I would favor Minnesota probably at home today in a close game.
Nightcap tonight's going to have those Kansas City Royals taking on the Los Angeles Angels. Waka versus Detmer is a total in this game that's listed at 8.5, but a de facto pick 'em on both sides, roughly a -112 price here on the Los Angeles Angels, on Kansas City as it's showing up now. Looking at this overall, Ben and I have been having a lot of fun here with Kansas City at home. Vinny P, our guy in the middle of that lineup, an RBI machine right now, but we love Vinny P up against right-handed pitchers, going up against a lefty tonight. How do you see this playing out in a very, very good Central Division? Kansas City hanging around.
Yeah, probably some runs coming in this game, I would imagine. And the Angels' bats have actually been okay. You saw them come back the other day in a game they weren't supposed to win, and they did. They're still almost, I believe, 10 or 9 games under 500, so they're not going anywhere. Kansas City's the better team, but this is not like ace versus ace by any means today on the mound with these two teams. So 8.5 is the total there. Maybe first 5 would be my over on that, because the bullpens, by the way, especially for Kansas City, has been excellent.
The Angels won 2 straight over Pittsburgh to end out that series, return back home. 9 games below 500, even Houston below them in the American League West. The Astros in that 5th and final spot. A small distinction on my end. 4th game of a midweek series between Seattle and Minnesota today. The Twins and the Mariners. Minnesota has won 2 of the first 3, looking for 3 of 4 in this series. Craig Mish, we always appreciate the time. Thank you for being here on this Thursday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. We'll see you on Newswire in just about 40 minutes.
All right. Thanks for having me once again. Have a great rest of the week.
Same to you. Of course, we'll continue to go around the Major League Baseball slate on this Thursday. 3 of the 7 games now in the books. 4 games to go. Donnie, right side, breaks them all down on the other side of the break here on the Early Line.
The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number 1 seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The Early Line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
A short 7-game slate on this Thursday around Major League Baseball. We previewed 3, 4 more to go. And speaking of 4, that's how many Chicago, the White Sox, scored yesterday in Tampa. Don't count out the Sox. 9th victory of the year. 9-28, no longer the worst record in all of the major leagues. That belongs to the Rockies, who are 8-28. Colorado and Chicago, the only two teams that have failed to this point to reach double-digit wins. The White Sox return home today, one of the few evening games that we have in this MLB slate. But they're an underdog against the best team in the American League Central. That's the Cleveland Guardians. Minus 158 for the Guardians on the south side of Chicago. Total at 8 now, up ever so slightly.
Hey, if we're looking at this game, too, 54 degrees at first pitch. Where is this nice spring weather we're supposed to be getting right now? At least 75 degrees. Not going to happen today. Slight wind blowing out. I should have said a 10-mile-an-hour wind blowing out, but really more towards that left foul pole than opposed to be just blowing out directly. We'll see how that plays into it tonight. Let's take a look at the pitching matchup. Ben Lively on the mound tonight for the Guardians, going up against a decent-looking lineup tonight against right-handed pitching. However, take a look at Lively's numbers. 85 batters he's faced this year. An ISO power number combined between lefties and righties, it's a 128. Weighted on base percentage, 266. So you might just want to take a leap of faith. Pham, Jimenez, Sheets, Benintendi, DeYoung, and also Corey Lee have decent numbers against righties, but I'm really not focused on this side. Let's flip it over to the other one. Eric Fetty's going to be on the mound. Not a great pitcher throughout his Major League Baseball career. He's a right-handed pitcher. Now, if you take a look at his numbers, ISO power number 188 combined between lefties and righties because he has a much better performance rating against right-handed batters than he does lefties. So let's focus on the lefties here, Ben. 222 ISO and a 326 weighted on base percentage. So an elevated ISO power number, right around an average weighted on base percentage. There's a couple guys in this lineup that have been really good all season long for the Guardians, and good. They're both lefties here. Naylor in the 4-hole, Brennan in the 5-hole, 270 ISO, 262 ISO, back-to-back right there. There are your RBI props here. And it feels like Naylor every single game is either getting multiple RBIs or hitting a home run. Those two guys are my looks. Naylor and Brennan today in that game between the Guardians and the White Sox.
The final game yesterday between the Cardinals and the Mets was rained out, so St. Louis now on the road today in Milwaukee to take on the Brew Crew. Sonny Gray did not start yesterday, slated to start today for St. Louis, and the Cardinals need it. They have lost 4 straight games. They're in the cellar of the 5 teams in the National League Central in this divisional duel. Can they start to make up some ground? Minus 134 on the money line in favor of the Redbirds with Sonny Gray getting the start. Are good things headed to St. Louis today in Milwaukee?
Probably an under. You take a look at that 8. That's probably the way I would play it here. Take a look at Tobias Myers on the mound, the young right-handed pitcher for the Brewers. Only 56 batters he's faced this year. Filthy against left-handed batters, which you're going to see a lot of in that lineup today for St. Louis. But he has struggled mightily here, Ben, with right-handed batters. How about this number? ISO power number 536. Weighted on base percentage 463. So immediately you'd go to and say, who are those right-handed bats in the lineup for the Cardinals that I can trust? Maybe the best was Contreras, who, again, is going to be out a minimum of 6 weeks with that broken arm behind the plate here. Was DHing quite nicely when he was getting some of those chances. But looking at these right-handed batters, Goldschmidt, bad. Arenado, bad. You take a look at Mason Wynn, bad. I mean, there's not a lot to love. So if we flip it over to the other side, good luck on this one. Sonny Gray has been damn near untouchable this season with an 056 ISO power number combined between lefty and righty batters through 114 batters. The lineup does look good here for the Brewers, but typically, Ben, as we know, great pitching is usually going to beat good bats here. So let's go under the total in this game.
When you look at the Giants, they were swept this weekend in Philadelphia in a 4-game series. They go to Colorado, and they have started to right the ship. 2 straight wins over the Rocks, looking for the 3-game series sweep today at Coors Field. Total only 9.5, but the Giants are favored today, minus 162. Number now live on the FanDuel Sportsbook to win all 3 games in Mile High.
How about this? Mile high cold weather here, 50 degrees at a first pitch and a 5-mile-an-hour wind blowing in. You take a look at Keaton Wynn, who's been really good this season, bet a 139. How many batters he's faced this year? 116 ISO, 292 weighted on base percentage. Quickly flip it over to the other side. Cal Quantrill, not a great pitcher last year, but a decent pitcher this year with a 147 ISO and a 314 weighted on base percentage. If you look at that Giants lineup, nobody is really scaring this outside of Terrio Estrada's having a decent season and Mike Yastrzemski. In this game, pretty much a pass for me here, Ben.
When you look also at the longest losing skid in Major League Baseball at this active moment, that's the Cincinnati Reds. 7 straight losses for Cincy. They are home today in the Great American Ballpark against the Diamondbacks. Minus 134 for the Reds, total at 8.5. At least Cincy is favored to snap the 7-game skid. Some puck talk with Pete Jensen comes your way on the other side of the break, live right here on the early line to set the stage for the NHL postseason. Up next.
The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number one seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It's Stanley Cup Playoff Puck Talk live right here on this Thursday on the early line on SportsGrid. Pete Jensen joins us now to break things down around the Stanley Cup postseason. 2 games last night. We have seen some thrilling finishes, Pete, the last 2 nights in the Stanley Cup postseason, and we expect the same on this Thursday evening as well. Pete doing great work for the NHL, here to talk a little Stanley Cup postseason action. Pete, we appreciate the time as always.
Anytime, guys. Yeah, rough first couple of games, right? For teams like Florida dropping game 1, blown leads for Dallas, and then Edmonton last night in stunning fashion. Vancouver has owned them this season series, so starting to get into their heads a little bit. And after all, the favorites seem to get past the first round, things getting a lot more chaotic in the second round so far.
Yeah, absolutely so. So Boston goes into Sunrise in game number 1, wins 5-1, puts a shellacking on the Panthers. Florida responds with its own blowout in game number 2. The Panthers victorious 6-1 last night. The odds makers expected the response from the Panthers at a minus 166 price on that money line. But Pete, the goals one story, the fights and the penalty minutes the other. The 2 teams combining for 148 combined minutes in the sin bin. Do you expect the animosity and bad blood to continue throughout this series between Florida and Boston?
Absolutely. Yeah, the hits are getting thrown around. They're both leading the league in the second round so far in the hits category for what it's worth. And yeah, interesting when you see in a playoff game David Pastrnak and Matthew Tkachuk going at it a little bit. I think advantage Tkachuk there, but certainly advantage Florida in this series. My pre-series pick was Florida in 6, but hey, Jeremy Swayman, you got to give him some love here as a dark horse Conn Smythe candidate. I know, game 2 went awry a little bit, but nobody's been better than this guy in the postseason. And it's not the Bruins that we've been accustomed to knowing, other than Brad Marchand and Pastrnak, right? Chara's gone, Bergeron's gone, Krejci's gone. Those guys are in retirement now. So it's a new era for Boston, and kind of the centerpiece of their team the past few years is the goaltending tandem. Linus Ullmark won the Vezina last year. Now it's the opportunity for Jeremy Swayman to have his breakout. He's been so efficient in his career and off to a tremendous start in the postseason so far.
Bad blood as they go back to Boston. Should be interesting to watch that series play out. But out on the Western Coast here, Vancouver 5-4. You say, oh, that's about right here. No, this was a 4-1 lead, roughly 3/4 of the game through for the Edmonton Oilers before you saw 4 unanswered goals by the Vancouver Canucks. You take a look at Stuart Skinner in that game. Only faced 24 shot attempts, let 5 of them in. What a devastating blow to the Oilers. And also, when the Canucks just thought you were about to go down 0-1, now 1-0 in the series. Tough night for the Oilers out there, Pete.
Oh, for sure. And watch the live line on the Canucks. Remember they had that incredible comeback at Nashville in Game 4. Even though they had a third-string goalie, they were down by 2 goals with 2+ minutes left and came back and tied it, won in overtime. Watch the three-way money line if they're going to overtime in some of these games. It's all live right now because Vancouver can score with anybody. Their third line's been great. Dakota Joshua tied for their lead in playoff scoring with 7 points in 7 games, playing with Elias Lindholm and Connor Garland, who scored the game-winning goal in Game 1 against the Oilers. And like I said, stunning fashion. I never would have expected that. But again, 4-0 in the regular season for Vancouver. The circumstances were different, but everybody's pretty much healthy here except for Adam Henrique. Maybe the depth scoring and the goaltending could burn Edmonton over time. Even though they have McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, these guys are clicking on all cylinders. If they lose the 5-on-5 goal battle, like they were for most of the series against LA in the first round, that could mean trouble for Edmonton.
Pete, we said yesterday, previewing this opening game in Vancouver and the series overall, Edmonton was a hefty favorite to win the series outright, was a favorite on road ice in Vancouver in game number 1. They remain the series favorites and a favorite for tomorrow night's game number 2 in Vancouver, but not maybe as easy as the odds makers expected. Connor McDavid still remains the favorite to win the Conn Smythe, that playoff MVP at plus 850, but not all that far behind. Igor Shesterkin, 54 saves in the double overtime thrilling victory in game number 2 against the Carolina Hurricanes. As you look at the Conn Smythe odds, Pete, if you had a best bet at the moment, which player would it be?
Well, one guy that's gained the most appeal so far in the playoffs, I think, is Wyatt Johnston, who is near the end of that board. And with Dallas, they have so many cooks in the kitchen, whatever you want to say, Jason Robertson, Miro Heiskanen, Rupe Hintz, all the Tyler Seguin guys we've been accustomed to knowing over the years. But make no mistake, Wyatt Johnston, maybe other than Jake Ottinger, the goaltender, Wyatt Johnston, I'll say it, is their best skater right now on the Dallas Stars. I would expect Dallas to bounce back at some point like they did in the first round against Vegas. Remember, they fell behind. They're playing with fire, down 2-0. Losing both home games, but they're not going to go down without a fight. If I were to rank them right now, Colorado has been unreal, so maybe McKinnon at the top for me, and then Igor Shesterkin because of what he means to the Rangers in helping them navigate this difficult series against Carolina, who's always going to outshoot them, so he's gaining value by the day. So I would say McKinnon, Shesterkin, and Wyatt Johnston as of right now, based on what I've seen in the playoffs.
And how about Cal McCarr, a defenseman here at 11-1 price, certainly dominant out there. Let's get to the ice tonight, Pete, because we got a game down in Raleigh tonight. That's between the New York Rangers and Carolina. Now, the Hurricanes come into this game down 0-2, but a monster favorite tonight at a -172 price and a total that's listed at 5.5. Are the Carolina Hurricanes going to make it a series tonight, or do the Rangers' good vibes just continue to roll?
Carolina's always a good home team in the playoffs. They were, other than Game 7 in the series when they played each other 2 years ago, they won the first 3, kept holding serve in that particular series. But, man, Carolina has to clean things up right now. They're dominating the possession like they always do, but the Rangers are 4 for 9 on the power play over the first 2 games. 9 penalties for the Carolina Hurricanes under Rod Brindamore is literally unheard of, especially when you get to the getting tough in the postseason and stuff like that. So Zibanejad, Trocheck, and Panarin, they're playing on 2 different lines, and they all have 4 points in the first 2 games. Carolina needs to lock down here in Game 3 and remind the Rangers that, hey, they were in each of the first 2 games, and they're not going to go down without a fight, because based on everything I've seen all season long and with the deadline upgrades for Gensel and stuff like that, I've just expected more from Carolina in the first 2 games here.
For sure. They were favored in both games inside Madison Square Garden. We'll see if the change of venue makes a difference tonight. Pete, Dallas has had home ice advantage in each of its first 2 series so far, but they have not been able to take advantage in their home opener in either. They lose to the Avs despite being up 3-0 in game number 1 earlier this week. Now a home ice favorite for game number 2 once again tonight against Colorado. In the final minute of this segment, Will home ice matter finally for the Stars?
I'm not so sure. It's tough to trust that team. They remember last year in the playoffs, I think the clinching game for Vegas against them, it was like 6-0 or 6-1 in Dallas's barn. They've had some rough home losses, and the crowd's really into it when they're winning, but maybe turns on them a little bit when things go south at different points. Colorado, to me, has the most robust offense in the league. What they have done to two elite goalies so far through 6-7 games, I mean, it's ridiculous. Connor Hellebuck with the Jets, they scored 5+ goals in every game against him. He didn't look like a Vezina Trophy winner to me in that series. And Jake Ottinger, they were able to solve him with that great comeback. And remember, Colorado, if you're going to say Georgiev's not good enough, they won the Cup in 2022 with a .901 save percentage with Darcy Kemper and Pavel Francouz. And Georgiev's been good ever since that horrible first game in Winnipeg.
Pete Jensen from the NHL. We appreciate the time as always. Doubleheader in the NBA as well. Next.
The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number 1 seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort
night.
of has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Sometimes people do mean things. A doubleheader of playoff action, both in the Stanley Cup postseason and the NBA playoffs. Tonight, on this Thursday, we break down both of the games, give you some picks and best bets for our doubleheader of action around the association. Although it is the second game of 2, it is where we begin. First, tonight in Oklahoma City, it's the Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks. Game number 2 of the Western Conference semifinal series between these two, with OKC rolling in game number 1, as we expected here on the early line. Certainly Donnie. The Thunder covered as a 3.5-point favorite, winning 117-95 over the Mavs. And now the line for game number 2 in Oklahoma City, 5 points in favor of OKC. Total at 218 and a hook. Same exact number where it was for the opening game, and that game stayed under because the Mavericks only scored 95 points. Donnie, what is the thought here for game number 2 tonight in Oklahoma City?
Based on what I saw in game number 1, it's going to be OKC for me again today. It would be nice if that dropped back down to 4.5, but it's not today. It's up to 5, but I still do think they're able to win and cover, which means close to a double-digit victory. Now, things might change here because you base off of what you saw in game number 1, who, again, I still think regardless of who's healthy and who's not healthy, OKC is the better team, and they have home court advantage. That's a big deal here. But we're taking a look at Luka Doncic tonight at the FanDuel Sportsbook at a points prop of 31.5. Now, if he's healthy enough to get 32-plus points tonight, sure, they're going to be in this basketball game. But my focal point pre-flop, as we like to say, before we see how Luka Doncic comes out and plays, is Kyrie Irving. That's where my focus is going to be, 23.5. Yeah. I do believe he has to pick up the slack for Luka Doncic. Take a look at his last 3 playoff games. 35 minutes against the Clippers, scored 14 points. The next game in the closeout, 42 minutes, scored 30 points, which included 11 of 19 from the field. Then you saw game number 1, 37 minutes, 7 of 14, which isn't bad. It's 50% shooting and 20 points. I need to see that increased back to that game on the 3rd against the Clippers where he shot at least 19 times. If we can get close to 20 shot attempts for Kyrie Irving, he's going to shatter 23.5 points. So you know who I like here. It's OKC to win the game. But if I'm trying to say, okay, what's an angle I can take on the Mavericks that I can play even if I don't think they cover? It's got to be Kyrie Irving. If you're going to get under 20 points from Kyrie, I don't see the Dallas Mavericks winning this game and or covering. But if you get a good performance out of Luka Doncic and then Kyrie Irving is filling it up for 25-plus points, they'll be in this one. So the focus for me is Kyrie Irving. I like that over 23.5 because I don't think he has a choice here. He's got to shoot close to 20 times tonight.
Again, Luka Doncic has not been great from deep in this postseason, especially in the last 4 games. 1 of 8 in game number 1 against OKC, 5 for his last 35 from 3. His points prop is 30 in a hook. His 3-point prop is 3.5. If they get that performance out of Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, then maybe they stay in this basketball game, but they still lost game number 1 by 22. Luka scored 19, Kyrie poured in 20. I agree with the look at Kyrie Irving first before I would approach the points prop of Luka Doncic. If I was looking for my favorite points prop in this game, it would actually be on the other side at Jalen Williams for OKC. 20.5 is his number, a number he has been over in 3 of 5 games, and he has been consistent. Only 19 in the opening game of this set against the Mavericks, but he's never scored less than 18, and he's never scored more than 24. It's like these guys, Donnie, on Oklahoma City only have a certain barometer. It's not like you're going to see Shai Gilgeous-Alexander go off for 40 each and every night, but he's never going to score less than 26, and he's probably not going to go over 35. By the way, SGA up to 29.5. His points prop for game 1, 28 and a hook, and he scored 29.
Yeah, and exactly. You know what you get, which also is a good thing here. It's like know your role, right? Look, we know how we're supposed to shoot, how many each we take, and also in the game flow that we know when to get our buckets when we get a chance. Because SGA, last game, you have that steady pace all the way through. You have to hit that gas pedal early in this game to sort of say, you know what, Dallas, you're not going to get back into the series. We're going to go up 2-0. So I do think it's fascinating on that point of view. But just getting back to the game itself, I'm still also worried about the total. And again, this is the great evolution of sports gambling right in front of our eyes. It used to be like, okay, I trust he's going to be healthy. You make a bet pre-game. You come in like, man, this guy's not healthy. Like, you're stuck with it at that point. Instead, you can wait 1 to 2 minutes. And yes, if Luka Doncic comes out and drops the 3-pointer in the first minute, that 31.5 might go to 32.5, and you lose a little bit of your edge. But at least you get eyes on the situation like, ooh, this guy looks like he's ready to go tonight. That's what I look forward most here. So OKC for me, total up in the air, but I need to get eyes on Luka Doncic tonight. But the one guy I don't need eyes on pre-flop is Kyrie Irving. I think we get a good performance out of him. I really do.
Again, 218.5 is the number. Same exact total that we saw in game number 1. Often you see fluctuations if a number misses. Game went under 212 combined. Dallas did not score 100 or more than 95. No team has scored more than 95 points against OKC in their 5 games here in this postseason. The Thunder have covered in their last 4 games as well, booked as a favorite in every one. Dallas, an underdog for the 3rd time this postseason tonight. They were an underdog in game 2 against LA. They won outright, did not come anywhere close to covering that 3.5-point spread in game number 1. OKC now a minus 245 series outright favorite to win this series in advance to the Western Conference Finals, where they would have home floor advantage. Home floor advantage has been key for Boston all year long. 45 games inside TD Garden. The Celtics have won 40. The simple question, Donnie, for game 2 tonight against Cleveland is not can Boston win? They're favored by 13.5 points, but can the Celtics cover?
I do think the Celtics can cover again. And also, if you're taking a look at a betting perspective on both sides here, it's simple in this series. I talked about it game number 1. If you like the Cleveland Cavaliers, just take them in the first half because you're going to know by the break what the deal is. If it's a double-digit lead at the break, they're probably not going to cover that game. If the Cleveland Cavaliers are within 4 to 5 points of the break and they get the cover, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to cover for the full game either. But if you are approaching the Boston Celtics, instead of just taking the 13.5, it's like, okay, let me just get a team total over for the Celtics at that point, right? Because it's so many points to deal with where we don't know how this game's going to end up. But if you were to bet Cleveland, which I don't advise your full game, take them in the first half. Because if they're not within double digits, they're probably going to get beat by 25 again tonight.
The most life that Cleveland had was in the opening quarter of that opening game. They scored 34 in the first, just that Boston scored 40. Team total for the Celtics, 113.5. A best bet comes your way next.
The only one that can punch him in the nose, in my opinion, is the Knicks or those Western teams. What did you think when you saw those odds?
In their path, and it's all about the path, right? Number 1 seed, you should have an easy path, but quite honestly, looking at who they'd have to go through here eventually is kind of laughable. So I get it.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live. Prime time.
We got not 1, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
That hurts. Live right here on this Thursday on the early line, a doubleheader of NBA playoff action. We continue to dive deep into the opening game of the night in Boston, inside TD Garden, between the Celtics and the Cavaliers. Listen, when you see a 2-touchdown spread for an NBA playoff game, you try to find some value. Boston, in their 6 playoff games, has won 5 of them. In all 5 victories for the C's, they have won by at least 14 points. They have been booked as a 9.5-point favorite in all 6 playoff games. They have covered in all 5 wins, and often those totals do stay under, not game number 1, where the Celtics scored 120, limiting Cleveland to only 95, of which Donovan Mitchell had 33, and the total did go over 211.5. It's up by a full point to 212 and a hook. Donnie, you made the point right before the break that if you're going to back Cleveland, then you need to do it in the first half. I'll further it here, Donnie, with another Donnie. Donovan for the Cleveland Cavaliers. If you think the Cavs stay within this number and have any hope at keeping this game tightly contested, Spider's going to go over 29.5. It's just what we have seen here. He's scored at least 33 in 3 straight games for the Cavs.
No doubt about it. And also, you're taking a look at that points prop. You can correlate it with the 3-point prop. He's probably going to score in the mid-30s. That means he's going to knock down multiple 3-point shots. You get that plus money on 3.5. As we pointed out earlier in the show, I do believe, Ben, he's going to shoot double-digit 3-point shots. So the one thing is, if he goes 1 of 11 from 3-point range, it's like, hey, you know what? You take that loss because you have the volume. It's the times that I take the Boston Celtics guy, I'm like, hey, Jaylen Brown to make 2 3-point shots on it. And he shoots 2 3-point shots and goes 0 for 2. They're the ones that you sort of get upset with. But also, from a points perspective in this game overall, sometimes when I take a look at these big spreads, I sort of say the rotation is going to be there. But do we really need Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown scoring a lot of points in the fourth quarter? Doesn't your eyes just go right to Peyton Pritchett and Sam Hauser? It feels like the B team comes in and is like, all right, if there's 8 minutes left to go in the game and we're up 25 points, let me just get some run here, because their points props are 8.5 and 6.5. I always get intrigued by them because they could hit those in the first half because they shoot 3-point shots. But anytime we have that blowout, where do you usually lose your wagers? On the top end guys, not the bottom guys. How many times do you see Pritchett during the regular season in a blowout? Like, man, that guy shot 18 times from the floor. Yeah, because he played the entire second half.
Yeah, I would agree. Peyton Pritchard, 4 triples in game number 1. That number looks very, very enticing in game number 2. And Donnie's right. If you correlate it to everything, scoring should be up. Total is up. Spread 13.5 in favor of Boston. We expect another easy win for the Celtics, that if they're up comfortably double digits late in the fourth quarter, that's Peyton Pritchard's music, brother. That's Sam Hauser's music, brother. Luke Cornett might get out there and start banging in corner threes. So now we give you a best bet on this Thursday. Doubleheader of action in the NBA playoffs. A best bet in the National Hockey League as well. Doubleheader of action in the Stanley Cup playoffs, and a short slate in Major League Baseball. Before we say goodbye, before we say farewell, it is time for bye. We already got one best bet today in the Stanley Cup postseason. Might we get another from Donnie Rightside?
Am I allowed to give my best bet? Because I certainly want to give it here. That's OKC, baby, at a -5 tonight. We're not going to downshift. I told you for 2 days we're backing them again here. I'm going to do it at -5 tonight here. That's my best bet of the day. Let's rock and roll.
All right, you made that very quick. Now I've got 1:40 to fill here. My best bet is a look at Jason Tatum. Now, I agree with Donnie's point that when you get into blowouts, you often lose it on the high end of the market. And Tatum, despite scoring 18 points only in game number 1, not being the leading scorer, that was Jaylen Brown, not scoring 20-plus, 25 from Derek White. I still think Jason Tatum has a big game. 26.5 is his number, a number he has only been over once here in the 6 playoff games for the Celtics, but even more than 26.5. If I think Tatum is going to be there, I think he gets in on the 3-point fun. He was 0 for 5 in game number 1 against Cleveland, but he made at least 2 threes in games 2 through 5 against Miami. His 3-point prop tonight, 2.5. The over has the juice at -130. 3 made triples out of Jason Tatum tonight inside TD Garden.
He's the ultimate heartbreaker, so we'll see if that works out in your favor, because usually boom or bust. Either he goes wild or he just wiles out at that point here. So we'll find out what happens there. Hopefully I can filibuster. I don't know, maybe longer stingers tomorrow for you, Ben, so you don't have to talk so much.
Maybe.
How about that? Yeah.
You didn't even compliment my haircut today. That kind of sucks.
Did you get one? Let me see, yeah. Oh, look at that, yeah. It's a little sweat on the forehead there, so tough scene at that point. So.
Ugly scene out of Donnie Rightside to end it. But we'll be back tomorrow for one final day of the early line this week. A Friday starts at 8 a.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.